Vishnupad Brahmahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Shri Srimad Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupad Brahmahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Taking over the word with Shri Prabhupada, Transcendental Book Distribution, and the Varnashram Farm Communities Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text number 3. Asina asinam urvyam bhagavantam adyam sankarshanam devam akuntha sattvam vivitsavaha tattvam ataha parasya kumara mukhyaha munayaha anvaprichan. Asinamurvyam bhagavantamadhya adhyam. Asinamurvyam urvyam bhagavantamadhyam. Sankarshanam devamakuntha sattvam. Vivitsavastattvam atah parasya. Kumara Mukhya Munayon Vrapritchan. Asinamurvyam Bhagavantamadhyam. Sankarshanam Devamakuntha Sattvam. Vivitsavastattvatah parasya. Kumara Mukhya Munayon Viprichan. Asinamurvyam Bhagavantamadhyam. Sankarshanam Devamakuntha Sattvam. Vivitsavastattvam atah parasya. Kumara Mukhya Munayon Viprichan. Don't be shy. Asinamurvyam bhagavantamadhyam. Asinamurvyam bhagavantamadhyam. Sankarshanam devamakuntha sattvam. Vivitsavastatvatah parasya. Kumara Mukhya Munayon Vrapritchan. Mataji. Asinamurvyam bhagavantamadhyam. Sankarshanam devamakuntha sattvam. Parasya. Aramukhya Munayo Vrapritchan. Asinam, seated. Urvyam, in the bottom of the universe. Bhagavantam, unto the Lord. Adhyam, the original. Sankarshanam, Sankarshana. Devam, the personality of Godhead. Akunta Sattvam, undeterred knowledge. Vivitsavaha, being inquisitive to know. Tattvam Mataha, truth like this. Parasya, regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kumara, the boy saint. Mukhyaha, headed by. Munayaha, great sages. Anvaprichan, inquired like this. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumar, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other sages, inquired exactly like you about the truths regarding Vasudev, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshan, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to these put forward by Vidura were asked by sages like Sanat Kumara and Lord Sankarshana. The plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. He asked me to read verse number 3 and 5 also. Swam eva dishnyam bahumanya manayantam yad vasudeva bhidham amananti Prityaghritaksham bhujakoshamishat unmilayantam vibudhodayaya. At that time, Lord Sankarshan was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva. But for the sake of advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. Svardhun udardhai swajata kalapar upas prishantash charanopadhanam padam yadarchantyahi rajakanya sapremanana balibhirvararthaha. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the serpent king when they desire good husbands. Purport. The Ganges water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages came from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by mystic yoga. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in its water. The Ganges is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via this sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet, that it was directly moistened by the water originating from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, the Ganges. Whoever touches the water of the Ganges to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly and can become free from all effects of sinful acts. If after taking a bath in the Ganges or being washed of all sins, a man guards against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, his bath in the Ganges is as good as that of the elephant, who nicely takes bath in a river, but later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with dust on the land. Om Agnana-Timirandhasya Jnananjana-Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tafpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishamamsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sandho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Srite Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sandhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminati Namane Harijana Ganabadi Gnana Karmandahari Prakritita Para Bhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinay Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Mede Ragamyo Bhuvi Jayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Vagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmi Yasya Shivakshase Yasyasya Hridaye Samvitam Nrsimham Aham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Yasya Deve Para Bhaktir Yata Deve Tata Guru Tasyaite Katita Hyartha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. So this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about how the Lord himself spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very ecstatic indeed. So we see over here that that Vidura is glorifying Maitreya. So Maitreya is glorifying Vidura for asking good questions. This is a theme that we constantly see in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That every time someone asks a good question, they're like, thank you for asking such a good question. You can pull up 125 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where there's this verse, Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam yadkrita krishasam prashno yenatma suprasidati, where Sutta Goswami says, O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. Because the devotees understand that mostly people are going around the world, they're simply performing nonsensical activities. And because they're performing nonsensical activities, they are never satisfied in this material world. The nature of matter is that it will never satisfy you. No matter what you do, no matter how much you try to gratify your senses, no matter how much you get from this and that, how much money you get, how much fame you get, how much knowledge, mundane knowledge you get, how much so-called strength you have, all these things will never satisfy the soul. How do we know this? We can see the demons of this age and demons of the age before. Ravana, no matter how much he got, he was never satisfied. You see, once Ravana heard the description of Sita from Surpanaka, firstly, when he saw that her nose was cut off, he said, what happened to your beautiful nose? With such a beautiful crooked nose bent in a particular way, what happened to your beautiful nose? I mean, it's amazing that he thought Surpanaka had a beautiful nose. It was disgusting, completely horrible to look at. But what happened to your beautiful nose? And Surpanaka tells him, I saw this Rama, and next to him was this beautiful Sita, and she starts to describe Sita, and she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Even the greatest queens that you have, they'll all just not even be fit to be her maidservants. And then Ravana becomes so insatiated by lust to enjoy Sita that even though he had the demigods being his personal maidservants in his own palace, in his whole Lanka, even though he had that, still he was not satisfied. It was too cold. Let's make it into spring season, and it becomes spring season. Surya makes it spring season. And they have all kinds of arrangements, this, that, and the other thing. But still he was not satisfied. Why? Because of his lust. No matter how much you try to make material adjustments in this world, you will never be satisfied. We can see the rich people of this day. What do they want? They want to become richer and richer and richer and richer and richer. It's a natural thing. The demons want. Hiranyakashipu had everything. It says in Srimad Bhagavatam that he was sitting on the topmost seat of the demigods from which everything is controlled in the universe. He was sitting over there and he was drinking the most intoxicating beverages that are present in this material. That he had the best thing this universe, every best thing that this universe had to offer, he had. He had the best drinks the universe had to offer. He had the best women the universe had to offer. Best comforts, best everything that the universe had to offer. He was sitting there and he was drinking and his eyes are rolling in intoxication, but he was still not satisfied. He was not satisfied. Why? Because he's trying to exploit matter. So we say that this is a constant thing, but the sages are glorified for asking nice questions. They're asking nice questions. Why? Because these questions actually satisfy the self. These questions actually satisfy them. Munaya sadhu bhavadbhi lokamana yat krita krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. You will actually experience complete satisfaction when you are hearing and inquiring about Krishna. This is why they congratulate them. They congratulate the great sages. Why? Because the sages are so powerful. You can see, you can go back 2 verses. Shukadeva Goswami is glorified. Yeah, that one. Go back 1 more verse. We can read both these verses. Sutta Uvacha Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apetya Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakataru Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravobinedustam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munamanatosmi. He's glorified. Why is Shukadeva Goswami glorified? Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the great sage Shukadeva Goswami, who can enter into the hearts of all. When he went, this is the point, that he can enter into the hearts of all. The great sages, the great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they can enter into the hearts of the living entities and completely satisfy what they're hankering for. And this kind of questions are actually worth inquiring into. That's why we see in the Vishnu Sahasranama, there's this verse of name of Lord Vishnu, known as Punya Shravana Kirtana. Hearing about him, you will actually attain the greatest happiness. You'll attain the greatest bliss. But people of this world, what are they doing? They're simply doing Papa Shravana Kirtana. They're doing sinful hearing and chanting. Sinful hearing and chanting. You see it's YouTube. YouTube is 95% full of Papa Shravana Kirtana. 95%. 5% is Punya Shravana Kirtana. Mainly dominated by Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's channel. So many amazing nectars there, followed by Prabhupada memories. So much Prabhupada memories are on there. Prabhupada lectures. So much pure Harikatha is on there. So there's so much Papa Shravana Kirtana. So many books are being printed in this world. Most books, with the exception of Prabhupada's books and other books following the same genre of pure devotional service as described in Srila Prabhupada's books, it's all Papa Shravana Kirtana. They're hearing, but they're doing sinful hearing. Why? Because by hearing these activities, by hearing about the activities of the mundaners, the karmis, the rascals, the mudas, the atheists, all these people, by hearing about their activities, it simply increases their sinful activity, sinful desires. It increases more, and already we have so many sinful desires. But the more we hear all this garbage from the other sources, the more our sinful desires will increase. The more our hankering to enjoy material things will increase. The more our hankering. But when we hear about Krishna from a bona fide source, when we inquire submissively, tadvati pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnanena sattvadarshinaha. When we hear from the bona fide sources of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then our heads, they become decorated by the dust, the dust that's there at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead when we offer our obeisances to Him. Our eyes, the darkness of ignorance is removed from our eyes when we look at the beautiful transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Our intelligence becomes as white as that of a conch when we are constantly contemplating about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And our tongue becomes completely purified when we are glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The very ecstatic verse, I can pull this up. You have pocket Vedas, right? You're using this. So you can look at this verse in the Mukunda Mala Stotra, verse number 19. Yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavalam tadvarshma tadvaishiras tenetre tamasojite turuchire yabhyam harir drishyate sabhuddhir vimalendra shanku dhavala ya madhavadyayini sajivamrita varshini pratipadam yastauti narayanam. You see, that head is the loftiest, which is white with dust from bowing down to Lord Krishna. Those eyes are the most beautiful, which darkness has abandoned after they have seen Lord Hari. That intelligence is spotless like the white glow of the moon or a conch shell, which concentrates on Lord Madhava. And that tongue rains down nectar, which constantly glorifies Lord Narayana. So this is the effect when we ask questions about Krishna. And we say, so many people, what are you guys? What are you guys? They say, what are you guys? For monks, you can read about us in this book, and you give them a book of Srila Prabhupada or whatever. And then constantly their entire life is completely transformed. Life is completely transformed. That is why these are questions worth asking. Questions about Krishna. These are questions worth asking. That's why we were saying there's some kid, talking to some devotee in Vrindavan and this and that. He said, that's fine, but can we talk about Krishna? That devotee was so intense about talking about Krishna. Because by talking about Krishna, once all these horrible desires and all these things, they will go away. All these unwanted desires will go away. So there's the point. That's why the great, he's glorifying some time ago. Same, and this is the mood of all devotees, that they want to inquire about Krishna. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Machita madgata pranav bodhayantas parashparam katayantas shamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. That when we hear about and glorify the beautiful transcendental pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we'll actually attain complete satisfaction. Bodhayantas parashparam katayantas shamam nityam tushyanti. You will feel satisfied. Ramanti. You will feel happy. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. You will feel happy, you will be ecstatic. This is the nature of talking about Krishna. But otherwise, when you hear questions relating this, that, this technology, this thing, that thing, this thing, what ends up happening is that our desire for material enjoyment increases. Look at 244, Bhoga Ishwarya Bhagavad Gita. Bhoga Ishwarya prasaktanam taya pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhir samadho na vidiyate. You can see this over here. The Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, in the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. It does not take place. Why? Because you're hearing more and more about Bhoga and Aishwarya and Bhoga and Aishwarya and Bhoga and Aishwarya. It's okay to hear about the Bhoga and Aishwarya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, if you were to inquire about the nature of the Bhoga of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is very amazing. If you were to inquire about the nature of the Aishwarya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is very amazing. But when you inquire about Bhoga and Aishwarya for yourself, then you will suffer in this material world. That's what's happening. The more you indulge in sense gratification, the more our minds will be completely destroyed. The more our sense of focus will be completely destroyed. The more the madness and the craziness of the society will increase, the more they indulge in sense gratification. Indulge. To the degree that they lose discrimination. It's really amazing. Even when I was growing up, even 10 years ago, I would never imagine that it's a question if you're a boy or you're a girl. Right? That's like that would not even be a question in your mind, like, it's a boy or a girl. But now you see the indulgence of the senses has increased so much that people question whether they're a boy or a girl. It is insane. We can't even conceive. We can't even fathom of this insanity. I was recently talking to an Indian family, and this Indian family, they called me up. They said, we are in so much anxiety. Our son has started, Indian family in America, our son has started taking gender hormones or whatever the heck it's called, and this and that. And I was like really shocked. I was thinking, okay, what do you want me to do? And, so, okay, they're like, can you talk to my son? I said, okay. And then, I'm talking to this guy, he's completely lost it. That I was asking him that, hey, my guy, what do you think? How can you ever be a woman? What's wrong with you? But he said, no, you can be a woman. I said, but how? What does it mean to be a woman, right? It's like don't you have a desire to have a family? Don't you have a desire to raise kids? Don't you have a desire to, enjoy the body that you have? Okay, you're not a devotee, at least as a karmi, don't you have a desire? I said, well, plenty of women also have miscarriages. Plenty of women also can't have birth. But that's an abnormality in the body of a woman. If a woman can't give birth to kids, that means that there's something wrong with her. Therefore, they have to go to the doctor and get it fixed. But if a man can't give birth to kids, no one's going to worry about it, right? It's a man. He's not going to give birth to kids. But you want to be a woman, but you can't give birth to kids. You don't have the stuff which is required to be a woman. You just don't have it, no matter how many operations you do, no matter what happens. And then I asked him, then he said, does this mean, so then I told him, like, all right, so what about, so then I was thinking, so if someone doesn't have one leg, if someone is born with a foot missing, if someone has a leg missing, that's an abnormality. Now, it doesn't mean that just because one guy doesn't have a foot that humans, it's a common statement to say that, okay, human beings have 2 feet. It's a statement to say. But if someone is born with one foot, that's an abnormality. Doesn't mean that now humans have like hundreds and thousands of feet wherever they go. It's a standard thing. It's a common thing. But common sense doesn't work. But at the same time, this guy is so smart that he got like 75 out of 180 in his LSAT, and he's looking forward to getting into Yale and Harvard. So what do you want to do? I want to be a lawyer to protect civil rights of the transgenders. This is what you want to do. It is insane. It's crazy. And then, he says, his name is Nitin, but everywhere outside, he goes by the name Nalini. Can you believe it? This is crazy. I was thinking this, it's nuts. And and then the parents, they indulge the children, indulge them. And I asked the parents, what have you been doing with your kid? I've been, they basically indulging him in sense gratification. This, that. Okay, it's okay to have a girlfriend. And then I asked him, but your parents told me you have a girlfriend. Yeah, I have a girlfriend, but she identifies as a lesbian. So in order to be her lesbian girlfriend, I'm changing my sex. Give me some. What's wrong with you? This is insanity. But then I asked him, how did it all start? Guess what? Guess how it all started? By inquiring about this. Papa Shravana Kirtana. It started off by inquiring about, and I told the parents, I chastised them, you're all rascals. You're born in a Tamil family. Your ancestors didn't drink so much alcohol. But you're drinking alcohol, you're indulging in all these nonsensical activities. You came to America, you completely forgot your culture, and just see the result of what's going to happen. Just see the result. You are rascals. Chant Hare Krishna. Give up meat. Give up your nonsense activities. And I told them, I hope you love me. I hope you love your son more than you love meat and alcohol. Because the only thing which can change right now is the causeless mercy of Krishna. He didn't go all the way through with it because he doesn't want to spend his parents' money on destroying his genitals, on mutilating himself. But he's going to do it soon. A lawyer is going to have a lot of money, enough to get a sex change operation. And then, after some time, the news will come that he killed himself. What to do? What the hell? What do you call these people? Why? How does all this? Papa Shravana Kirtana, they start inquiring, this, that. They want to enjoy this way, they want to enjoy that way. What hope do these people have? The only hope they have is Prabhupada's books. That's their only hope. That's the only hope that they have. If they don't have the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all of the other books of Srila Prabhupada, they have no hope. But you know what? And I told them, look, your life is going to be, if you don't fix this now, your life is going to be hell. Your life is going to be absolute hell if you don't fix it now. And I asked this guy, specifically I asked him, dude, so I was calling him dude, bro, brother, everything to you're a man. Remember, you're a man. It's what do you think, brother? What do you think, bro? What do you think, man? I was saying all these things to him to just come on, let's get into it, And I asked him, so isn't it true that 90% of the transgender community commits suicide? Because they've completely destroyed the whole pleasure of getting a material body, the greatest material happiness you can receive is sex life. You're destroying that. How can you be happy? I asked him straight up, dude, as a karmi, the goal of life was to enjoy sex life, So I was thinking, do you really want? So there's plenty of ways to have sex. I said, dude, stop being crazy. What's wrong with you, man? But I said, well, the only reason that transgenders commit so much suicide is because of the entire society around them doesn't accept them. Do I look like I'm crazy? This is so insane. You're completely destroying. Papa Shravana Kirtana, this is what it happened. This is what happens. You start to inquire about all this garbage, and this is what happens. Therefore, we need to inquire into the nature of the absolute truth. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Inquire into the nature of the absolute truth. If you, Rishi Kumar Prabhu and I were living in Sridhar Shyam Prabhu's house, and in their son's house, they had a picture of, in their son's room, actually, in the son's room, they have a picture of, his, what's it called? Kindergarten? Preschool picture, right? So they have Dhruv Goel, and they have all this Sarah, Mary, Harry, and all these people. And then they had their teacher called Mrs. Narayan, So then we were discussing that, how amazing they had a teacher called Mrs. Narayan. By calling Narayan, how much glorious it is. It's so amazing they're having this. And then Rishi Kumar Prabhu told me this one thing which I never thought of. He said, Little did I know that even the few Indian kids in my preschool, they were the closest to God. They had the best conception of God than anyone else in the room. And that is amazing, actually, right? Because he said he went to his friend's house and he would see pictures of Rama and Krishna on their walls. And he said, wow, this art is so beautiful. And the kid's like, yeah, my mom likes to do all these things. But, just by having the karma of being associated in a land where Krishna appeared, people just have like such a step up. You automatically have a conception of a personal form of God. You automatically have a conception of, worshiping God. Like you automatically have all these conceptions. But and the crazy thing is this guy's last name is Krishnan. What do you do? Like now Nalini Krishnan? Like it's so weird. It's so weird. How is this happening? And what's the worst thing? He's the leader of the LGBTQ community in his school. I'm like, my God, it couldn't be worse, because he's like their acharya, and this is common statistic. I was discussing with a doctor about this too, that basically what happens is you have the full support until you get the sex change operation, and after that they don't give a fig about you, and then you end up committing suicide. How does this happen? Papa Shravana Kirtana. You're not hearing about Lord Vishnu. You're hearing about this, that, and the other thing, transgenderism, this, and enjoy your senses like this, enjoy your senses like that, enjoy like this, and indulge. Boom. Intelligence lost. So this is the natural thing. So this is a very important point to consider. And now we see this over here. Srila Prabhupada is speaking about in purport number, to the text number 5 of this verse, about how great yogis, they transfer from one place to another using the river, the celestial river that's flowing all the way from the heavenly planets. And in this regard, there's so much glorification of Ganga. And so what is the Ganga, right? Where does she originate from? Causal ocean. How did that happen? Lord Vamana, big toe pierced, and then the water flowed. Then, that's the only one? Right? Falls on Lord Shiva's head. Then, 2 more things. Bhagavatam pop quiz.
At some point, some demigods bring it from one place to another.
Bhagirathi, he brings the Ganga. Then, one more thing it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam is that when the water, when Lord Brahma saw the lotus foot of the Supreme Lord Vamana, he immediately took his kamandalu and started bathing the Lord's lotus feet. And then in another place it says that the Ganga, she herself, is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So which one of these is true? Which one of these is true? Well, you can pull up Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, text number 20, purport to verse number 4. We can see this over here. Yeah, please. Okay. Keep going. Okay. Is this keep going? Well, sorry, I guess I pulled up the wrong purport. It's okay. Can you do 19, text number 4? Is it? Yeah. Sorry, chapter 19. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll just read it. I don't know. I'm bad with numbers and it's really displaying right now. It's not a good time. But we see this over here, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he makes a comment where he says that, he says, sorry, 8:20:34. Sorry about that. So we see this over here, that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that all these 3 things are true about the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Anyway, it's in this purport somewhere. We have to dig through it. But, he says that all these 3 things are true about the Lord's lotus feet. That one, the incident where Lord Vamanadev pierced the top of the universe and the Mandakini river flowed through and she became the Ganges river. Then the other instance where Lord Brahma pours his kamandalu upon the lotus foot of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this as the incarnation of the Supreme personality of Godhead herself. So this is the glories of the Ganges River. That she is all these things. And when and we now you can pull up Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, text chapter number 17, and this is a very ecstatic revelation given to us in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The name of this chapter is called The Descent of the Ganges. So we can see this over here. Okay, so we can just go to the index so we can just read the verses. Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamanadev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Through the big toe, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as a Ganges river. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the river of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living entity can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Yet its water remains ever pure, because the Ganges directly touches the Lord's lotus feet before descending within this universe. She is known as Vishnu Padi." It's an amazing name. Later, she received other names like Jhanavi and Bhagirathi. After 1,000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruva Loka, the topmost planet in the universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruva Loka to be Vishnupada, situated on the Vishnu's lotus feet. So we can read the purport to this verse. It's very ecstatic. Srila Prabhupada is glorifying the Ganges river. He says, in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami describes the glories of the Ganges river. The water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all sinful beings. It is a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude toward the Supreme Lord. Throughout India, many thousands of people live on the banks of the Ganges, and by regularly bathing in her waters, they are undoubtedly being purified both spiritually and materially. Many sages, including Shankaracharya, have composed prayers in praise of the Ganges, and the land of India itself has become glorious because such rivers as Ganges, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, and Narmada flow there. Anyone living on the land adjacent to these rivers is naturally advanced in spiritual consciousness. Srila Madhvacharya says, "Varahe vama padam tu tat anyeshu tu dakshinam padam kalpeshu bhagavan ujhara trivikramaha." Standing on his right foot and extending his left to the edge of the universe, Lord Vamana became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds. Now, we can look at the next verse. Okay. Dhruva Maharaj, the famous son of Maharaj Uttanapada, is known as the most exalted devotee of the Lord because of his firm determination in executing devotional service. Knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaj, situated on his own planet, to this very day accepts that water with great devotion on his head. Because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devoutly within the core of his heart, he is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. Tears flow from his half-open eyes. The eruptions appear on his entire body. Then there's so much more. And I was thinking, anyway, the glorification of Ganga can go on and on. There's so many verses glorifying Ganga Devi. But this is an important point, that she glorifies the whole world. She glorifies the whole world, glorifies everyone in the whole world. And it's amazing. What's amazing is that the yogis, they can travel anywhere they like, wherever the river flows. But mystic yogis, they can do it. And what's even more amazing is I was listening to a lecture of my Guru Maharaj. I remember I was listening to this lecture 10 years ago. I was looking for it, but I'm not so expert at the deep search yet. But in this lecture, Maharaj was quoting Srila Prabhupada, saying that Srila Prabhupada personally saw how these yogis would dip in one river 3 times, and they would go to another river somewhere else and take bath there, and again dip, and there's 3 rivers that they bathe in like this, and they come back. And my Guru Maharaj was like, how did Prabhupada know? Because he himself could also do it. Otherwise, how could Prabhupada say the yogis do it in all 3 rivers? So the yogis, they do this. They travel from one place to another just by doing that. And now the karmis may say, wait a minute, how does this make sense? We have never seen such a thing. Well, we can see the yantra buddhi that the people have. People have knowledge to use yantras, technology. I mean, it's inconceivable 50 years ago, even 50 years ago, if you were to tell someone that you could be sitting in America, and how many miles away is it from India, America? How many miles is it away from India? Any clue? Maybe 6,000, 7,000 miles, like 10,000 miles? I don't know. No idea. Okay, let's just say, even in America, if you said you could be sitting in New York and you could literally see someone in Los Angeles, you could just, there's going to be something called a phone which is going to fit in your pocket, and you can open it up and video calls. There's something known as a video call, and you can video call them and you can see what they're doing right now, or at the very moment. You could see that. Not only this, in places all over the world you can see it. There can be a big event happening somewhere in Australia, and you could be all the way in Seattle and you could be seeing it. People will think this guy is completely nuts. How is this possible? But there's yantra vidya. People understand this. There's different ways and means using which that people can manipulate matter in so many different ways. But the thing is that in Vedic civilization, this manipulation of matter was done in the mode of goodness. And therefore it doesn't destroy the very people. But because these kind of inventions are done in the mode of passion, they start off really good, but they end up destroying the very nature of a person. That is the only difference. Then there is access to subtle elements in the Vedic culture also. There is access to all these things. But this access is given to those of purified consciousness. Whereas this access is given to those with degraded consciousness. And why? What are the most popular websites on the internet? Pornography. Pornography is the most popular websites. It's simply meant for sense gratification. It's meant for degradation. And we can see there's so many instances in Shastra where Usha, she's thinking, oh, I saw this beautiful boy. Who is he? Who is he? Then Chandralekha, she starts drawing. No, not this. And then she draws Krishna. She's like, wow, he looks very similar to him. Then she draws Krishna's son, Pradyumna. Yes, he looks similar to him. Then she draws Aniruddha. Boom, that's the person. Yes, I want him. Then she, by her mystic power, she goes all the way into Dwarka, and then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes an amazing comment in the 10th canto. He says that actually no mystics can enter Dwaraka. How can they enter? It's Krishna's abode, I mean, even these common people, if you want to go and distribute books inside some mall, there's like so many security and this and that and all this and all that. Well, sir, we're the yoga monks with the chips. And we have to tell all kinds of nonsense to make our way through. Sir, James is calling us now. And we need to go there now, sir. We have no time, sir, and this and that. And then somehow the other, they let us in, and we go to other music festivals, and they open everything to make sure that we are not selling drugs and they're the only ones selling drugs. And they do all these things, right? In the music, there's so much security. If you want to go and meet some important guy, there's going to be so many layers of security that all that. So how is it possible that Krishna Dwaraka, someone can just enter Dwaraka, enter Krishna's palace, go and freaking steal his grandson? How is this possible? How is it possible? There's so many levels. But then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Narada Muni meets Chandralekha right outside of Dwaraka, gives her some divine knowledge, gives her the inside scoop, and then lets her go and kidnap Aniruddha to increase the pastimes and the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So she does that. She goes, she gets Aniruddha, and Usha and Aniruddha fall in love, and the whole, pastime goes on and on and on and on. And we can see, even in the previous ages, there is descriptions of all these weapons, like the nuclear weapon, the nuclear bomb, is here now. There's a Brahmastra also. But because it's used by those who need to have a high level of consciousness, the Brahmastra will only act on those that it needs to act on. We can see, so in the Ramayana, in the Mahabharata, so much description is there of people using, these weapons. But it only affects the particular people in the army that they're aiming at. But these weapons, made in the mode of passion, degrading the mode of ignorance, they go and kill civilians and all these people who have nothing to do with anything. You see? So this is the point, that when you're accessing the subtle things in the mode of goodness, then it is meant for the uplift of the society. But when you're accessing subtle elements in the mode of passion and ignorance, it simply degrades and destroys everything. That's why, yes, the Ganges is very amazing. Ganges is very beautiful. But Narottam Das Thakur says something very amazing. He says, Gangara parasha hoile pashate pavan darshane pavitra kori e tomar gun. That only after seeing, bathing in the Ganga many times will a person actually be able to purify themselves. But simply by getting darshan of a Vaishnava, then all their sins and all their horrible activities will get completely removed. So yes, we can go and bathe in the Ganga, we can do all these things, and we should do all these things in accept of devotional service. And that's very ecstatic, and we should do it. But we can bathe in the Ganga, but we can still have so many contaminations. We can see in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kuvera, Mangriva, and Nalkuvar, they were bathing in the Mandakini river. But although they were bathing in the Mandakini, that's Ganga. They were completely intoxicated. They were naked. They were, what the heck is going on? And when they saw Narada Muni, they were not getting purified bathing in the Ganga. They're not getting purified. They're standing naked in front of Narada Muni. What use is this? The offering didn't even come up. Or did it come and go already? Right? I didn't see it. Okay. So, we can see that these people, Nalkuvar and Manigriva, they were bathing in the Mandakini river. They were bathing. But still their consciousness was not purified. Their consciousness was not purified. Why? Because you see, one must understand the whole intent behind all this. One must understand, we are bathing in the Ganga. We need to give the respect that the Ganga deserves. But when they finally came in contact with a Vaishnava, he cursed them. And because of the association of the great Vaishnava Narada Muni, did they actually, get the direct darshan of the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. They actually got Krishna's darshan. How amazing is this? It's fantastic. Who can imagine the power of a Vaishnava? So similarly, we get the darshan of the Vaishnavas, and we are bathing in the nectar of their instructions, whatever instructions they're giving us. And in my Guru Maharaj, he glorifies Srila Prabhupada, that many people, they go to the Ganga to get purified of their sinful reactions. But when Srila Prabhupada goes to Ganga, he purifies her of her sins that she's accumulated. That is the power of a great Vaishnava like Srila Prabhupada. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani. They are what makes a tirtha. The great Vaishnavas, the great Acharyas. That's why we say, Gangam bhasam nakula bhut pena pankar brahma dravatvam pagachyati nira dharmaihi. We say this. How does this verse start? Krishna's yochak? No. How does this verse start? Gangam bhasam nakula bhut pena brahma dravatvam pagachyati nira dharmaihi. The next verse is Syat Krishnam. So it'll be good to learn the verse backwards also, that you never forget any part of it. Right? What is that? Krishna Dishtai swabhava janitair vapushashta doshair na prakritatvam bhakta janasya pashyat gangam bhasam nakulu budbhuta pena pankair brahmad dravatvam pagachyati nira dharmaihi. That we can see a Vaishnava. It may appear that they are deformed. They may have some kinds of things. They may have rheumatoid arthritis. They may have, so many diseases that they may have. They may look weird. They may have a weird complexion. They may have so many pimples and marks on their face. They may be old, deformed, decrepit, and all these things. They may be fat. There may be so many things like that. There can be so many things like that. But just like in the Ganga, although the Ganga is pure, and there's some sand or some mud or some garbage or something floating on the Ganga, a sane person moves away the trash and bathes in the Ganga herself. In the same way that they bathe in the Ganga, understanding her purity. We must see a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. He's Brahma Dravattama Pagachyati Nira Dharma. He has captured the essence of all Vedic knowledge, is loving devotion to Krishna. So when we take darshan of such a person, when we engage in the instructions and the activities that they have given us, then we can become purified. But if we forget what we're doing, there's nothing as purifying as book distribution. But we can be distributing Prabhupada's books. But if we distribute books for our own self-aggrandizement, we really miss the point. A miss is as good as a mile. We really miss the point. Why? Because although we are doing the purest of the pure things, we can cultivate the worst of the worst anarthas. And that is the worst thing that can ever happen. You're performing the purest service, but you're cultivating the greatest of you're cultivating the most impure impurities, the most impure anarthas. So a person must be very cautious and very careful. One must be very conscious. Idam gurave idam namama. This is for my guru, this is not for me. Idam vishnave idam namama. And a person must understand the whole purpose of book distribution is to engage in the service of spiritual master and to benefit the people that we are meeting. And the mood of a book distributor, what's the mood? Is that I'm distributing books to these people because they can become a much better devotee than me, and then they can guide me back home, back to Godhead. That should be the mood, that we should understand, these people, I was worse than them, but I somehow received the mercy of Prabhupada. If I give them the same mercy of Srila Prabhupada that I received, then they can become, and they can help me, they can take me back home, back to Godhead, by their mercy. Another thing we can think about is, we're distributing books, they're going to so many houses. Why do you want to distribute so many books? Because yes, realistically speaking, for a sinner like me, I'll probably have to take birth so many times, but wherever I take birth again, in whichever sinful household, at least if they received a book of Srila Prabhupada, I can read that book in my next life sometime. So we should understand and we should look at it like this. We should perform the purest. Then by doing this, we please the previous acharyas, we please Krishna. Otherwise, very simply, so many big book distributors have come and gone. But those that stayed are humbler than a blade of grass. So that should be our goal. Preaching to myself. That should be our goal. Anyway, I'll end the class here. If there's any questions, comments, or protests, we can take them now. Anything? Okay. Anything online? No. Mataji's, any questions? Okay, so then we can end the class here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vansha kalpatarubhyasya, kripa sindhubhyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.